Patience changes everything. You don't need to sprint through life to win. The truth is, those who master patience often go the farthest. Patience isn't weakness, it's strength under control. It's having the discipline to wait without giving up, the courage to believe without rushing, and the wisdom to know that timing isn't always in your hands, but how you respond always is. The world we live in moves fast. We're told to hurry, chase, hustle. But greatness doesn't unfold overnight. Seeds don't bloom the moment they're planted. You water them, you nurture them, you wait, and in that waiting, the most powerful transformations happen. So if you want patience to change everything for you, here are 6 habits you need to develop. Not just once, but daily. You don't need to react to everything life throws your way. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make is no move at all. In a world that praises constant motion and noise and urgency, it takes strength to be still. But stillness isn't emptiness, it's clarity. It's where wisdom speaks louder than emotions, and where direction becomes visible when everything else feels blurred. When you practice stillness, you create space between what happens to you and how you respond. That space is where patience begins to grow. Most people confuse patience with passivity. They think being still means doing nothing, but that's not what it means at all. Being still means choosing to wait for the right moment rather than reacting out of fear or frustration. It means understanding that not every situation requires a reaction, not every comment deserves your energy, not every problem needs to be solved right now. When you master the ability to sit with the moment, when you don't rush to fill silence or fix what feels broken, you begin to realize that life doesn't always need you to push it forward. It often needs you to trust its timing. Stillness also teaches you to hear your own thoughts without the chaos of everything else around you. In that silence you meet your real self, the one that isn't influenced by outside pressure or temporary emotions. You begin to see clearly what matters and what doesn't, what's real and what's just noise. But getting to that place isn't easy. It takes discipline to not check your phone every few seconds. It takes restraint to pause before reacting. It takes maturity to breathe before speaking. Yet every time you choose stillness over impulse, you build patience like a muscle, and sometimes the situation around you won't change, but you will. Your emotions will settle, your mind will clear, your perspective will shift. What felt urgent becomes manageable, what felt chaotic starts to make sense. Stillness allows you to respond instead of react, to lead instead of chase, to listen instead of interrupt. That kind of growth doesn't come from always doing more, it comes from doing less with more intention. You begin to trust that you don't have to force everything, that things will unfold if you let them, if you wait with strength and not with fear. There are going to be moments when everything in you wants to speak up, to fight back, to walk away. But in those moments, stillness gives you the ability to ask yourself what really matters. Will reacting bring peace or just temporary satisfaction? Will speaking heal or just hurt? Will moving now cost you more than staying still for a little while longer? These aren't easy questions to ask, but they're necessary if you want to grow with patience and not just survive with reaction. And let's be honest, waiting is uncomfortable. Being still when everyone else is moving makes you feel like you're falling behind, like you're not doing enough. But stillness is often the most productive thing you can do, because it's in that space that you recover your energy, sharpen your focus, and realign your goals. You come back to the next step with clarity instead of chaos, with purpose instead of pressure. That's when patience begins to transform not just your attitude, but your life. So make it a habit to be still, even if just for a few minutes each day. Whether it's in the morning before the world wakes up or at night when everything goes quiet, train your mind to sit with itself. Watch what rises, observe how you feel, and learn to be okay with not having all the answers right away. This habit will anchor you when storms come, when people disappoint you, when plans fall through. It will remind you that your peace is not controlled by what happens outside, but by how deeply rooted you are inside. The more you practice stillness, the more power you'll hold in the moments that challenge you. You'll begin to notice that you don't get pulled into drama as easily, that you don't get discouraged by delay, that you're not swayed by every emotion or distraction. You'll start to respond with grace, act with purpose, speak with intention, and move with peace. That's when you know patience is no longer something you're trying to learn, it's something you've become, because patience doesn't start with waiting, it starts with stillness, and stillness starts with a choice to pause, breathe, and trust the moment you're in right now. Not everything you work for will reward you right away, and that's one of the hardest truths to accept when you're trying to build something meaningful. It's natural to want results fast. You give your time, your effort, your energy, and you expect something to shift, but patience asks you to keep moving forward even when it looks like nothing is changing. It's the habit of trusting the invisible progress, that change is happening beneath the surface that nobody else can see, including you. Sometimes when you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to see if it's growing. You water it, you give it light, you give it time, and that's the mindset you need to carry into your work, your goals, your healing, your personal growth. Just because you don't see movement doesn't mean the process isn't unfolding. Sometimes the greatest growth happens in the silence, in the waiting, in the days that feel slow and repetitive and ordinary. But those days are not wasted. They are the foundation days. They are the shaping days. It's easy to stay motivated when results are pouring in, when people are cheering, when milestones are being hit. But what defines you is how you show up when none of that is happening, when there's no applause, when the finish line feels a million steps away. That's where character is forged. That's where commitment is tested. And that's where real patience lives, because it's not about holding on when it's easy. It's about holding on when everything in you wants to let go. The habit of trusting delayed results requires a shift in mindset. You stop chasing quick wins and start building something sustainable. You stop needing constant validation and start finding satisfaction in effort alone. You start to value the process over the outcome, because you understand the outcome is only as strong as the process behind it. People who go far in life are the ones who can keep planting even when the ground looks dry, who can keep showing up even when nothing is blooming, because they believe in the harvest even when it's invisible. And yes, there will be frustration. There will be days when you question everything, when you wonder if it's even worth it, and that's okay. It's part of the journey. But don't mistake delay for denial. Just because it's not happening now doesn't mean it never will. Some doors take longer to open, because what's behind them requires you to be stronger, wiser, more prepared. You're not being punished. You're being prepared, so you build the habit of endurance. You wake up and do the work, not because results are guaranteed today, but because the work itself is part of your transformation. Every day you stay committed, you're becoming more disciplined, more focused, more capable, and even though it may not show up in the way you expected, it is showing up in you. Your patience is shaping you. Your consistency is building you. Your waiting is not empty. It's doing work on your soul, on your mindset, on your resilience. Most people quit right before things start to change. They get tired of waiting and walk away, not realizing how close they were. But you can't afford to be most people. You have to be the one who stays, the one who endures, the one who believes enough to keep going, because patience changes everything, not just by giving you what you want, but by turning you into the person who's ready for it. When you trust delayed results, you stop needing to control everything. You stop measuring your worth by what shows up quickly and start honoring your value in the journey itself. You give yourself room to grow without pressure, space to fail without judgment, time to evolve without shame. And in that space you find peace, not because life is perfect, but because you are no longer ruled by urgency. So let the world rush, let others chase shortcuts, while you build something real, something strong, something worth waiting for. And one day, when the results do come, when the breakthrough finally arrives, you'll know it wasn't luck, it was patience. It was every unseen effort, every quiet sacrifice, every moment you chose to trust the process when it would have been easier to walk away. And that's the kind of reward that lasts forever. Impatience doesn't begin with your actions, it starts in your mind. It starts in the small thoughts that whisper you're behind, that you should be further, that it's not happening fast enough. Those quiet messages may seem harmless, but they shape how you move, how you feel, how you endure. They make you question your worth, they make you doubt your progress. And if you let them go unchecked, they will convince you to quit something that was actually working all along. The mind is powerful, and if you don't learn to take control of the inner voice, it will control you. You've got to get in the habit of speaking back to that voice, not with lies, but with truth, the truth that you are doing your best, the truth that growth is not always visible, the truth that slow progress is still progress, and that sometimes you're not failing, you're just being refined. Most people let that voice dictate their direction, they let doubt lead, they let fear choose their next step. But if you want patience to transform your life, you have to rewire the way you talk to yourself in the moments that feel long and heavy. That's not easy, it takes work. It takes awareness, it takes repetition. But every time you catch that voice and choose a different thought, you take back control, you turn what could have been a breaking point into a turning point. You stop feeding the fear and start feeding the fire inside you, the fire that says keep going, even if it's hard, the fire that says just because it's slow doesn't mean it's over, the fire that says I'm not where I want to be, but I'm better than I was. Self-talk is not some motivational fluff, it's strategy, it's survival, it's how you stay steady when everything around you is shaking, it's how you find peace in the storm. When you say to yourself, I can handle this, I'm learning through this, I'm becoming stronger, because of this, you create a mindset that can't be broken by delay or disappointment. You develop an internal foundation that can't be shaken by what's happening outside, because your inner world becomes your anchor, not your enemy. The inner voice is always speaking, it's always offering an interpretation of what's happening around you, and you have a choice in what that interpretation becomes. You can let it tell you that you're not good enough, or you can train it to remind you of your growth. You can let it say it's taking too long, or you can teach it to say this is building something deeper. Either way, it's a habit you have to build on purpose. You don't drift into strong self. You develop it with patience and practice. Start by noticing the patterns. When do you feel most discouraged? What thoughts rise when things slow down? What do you say to yourself when you fail, and ask yourself, would I speak to a friend? Way I speak to myself. If the answer is no, then you've got to shift it, because you are the one who has to live with those words. You are the one who hears them the loudest and the longest, and they become the filter through which you see everything. Instead of telling yourself, you're stuck telling yourself you're strengthening. Instead of saying nothing's working, remind yourself that some things are growing in silence. Instead of declaring it's too late, choose to believe that you are right on time. These shifts in thought don't happen overnight, but they do happen when you stay committed. Correcting your inner dialogue every time it tries to lead you in the wrong direction. Eventually that voice becomes your coach, not your critic. It becomes your support, not your sabotage. It becomes the reason you kept going when nothing else made sense, because you refused to let impatience rewrite your story. And that's where the real change begins, not in the world outside, but in the voice you carry within, because patience doesn't just live in action, it starts in the mind. And when you master that inner voice, you stop quitting early, you stop doubting what's possible, and you start becoming exactly who you were meant to be all along. Patience isn't about waiting forever without doing anything, it's about learning how to see value in every step, even the small ones. Too often people overlook progress because they're only searching for perfection. They think it only counts when the outcome is big, loud, obvious, but that's not how real growth works. The truth is progress is quiet, it's slow, it's subtle, it's in the extra 5 minutes you pushed through when you wanted to stop. It's in the moment you chose to respond with grace instead of anger. It's in the decision to keep showing up even though nobody else sees it. When you train yourself to recognize progress instead of chasing perfection, you stop living with constant disappointment. You stop comparing your journey to others. You stop expecting life to give you all the results at once, and you begin to celebrate the small victories that make the journey worth it. Perfection will paralyze you. It'll convince you that what you're doing isn't enough, that you need to be flawless before you feel worthy. But patience teaches you otherwise. Patience says even an inch forward matters, even a quiet win counts, even a small change is still change. You build patience by learning how to appreciate the process, not just the destination, and part of that is learning how to see progress for what it really is. Not always pretty, not always fast, but always important. There's a kind of strength in being able to look at your day and say, I didn't quit today, I kept my promise to myself, I didn't get everything right, but I got something right, and that's enough for now. That mindset is what keeps you going when the road feels long and the results feel far. The habit of celebrating progress gives you fuel, it gives you motivation, it reminds you That you're not stuck, you're just moving at a pace that builds depth and strength and endurance. You learn how to measure your days differently, not by what you achieved perfectly, but by what you improved honestly. Some days it'll be a big break. Through other days it'll just be holding on when you wanted to walk away. Both matter, both are progress, both are proof that you're growing. You've got to train your eyes to see the wins. You've got to learn how to look at yourself with honesty, not criticism. Ask yourself, did I try? Did I show up? Did I move forward in any way at all? If the answer is yes, that's progress. It might not be dramatic enough for the world to notice, but it's enough for you, and that's what really matters, because this is your journey, your path, your growth, and nobody else gets to define how you measure it. So many people quit not because they failed, but because they failed. Notice how far they'd come. They let impatience convince them that slow means stop. They ignored the small signs of transformation because they were too focused on some perfect image in their head. But real change happens in stages. It's not sudden, it's layered. It builds piece by piece, and every piece counts. Every effort builds on the last, and before you know it, you're standing in a place you only used to dream about because you refused to overlook the small steps that got you there. Perfection is a moving target. Even when you hit it, it shifts. It never stays long. It never satisfies for long because it's built on pressure, not peace. But progress is solid. It stays with you. It becomes part of you. It reminds you that you are capable of evolving even in the smallest ways. And that's what you need to hold on to. Every time impatience tries to tell you you're not doing enough, remind yourself, I'm doing what I can, I'm learning, I'm adjusting, I'm still in the game. And that matters. You don't need to be perfect to be proud of yourself. You just need to be honest, consistent, and willing to grow. The person who celebrates progress stays in the race longer because they have something real to hold onto, something that reminds them their effort is never wasted and their patience is never pointless. So start noticing the small things, start honoring the little wins, because they are shaping you even more than you know, and they are the reason patience changes everything. Patience isn't just about how long you wait, it's about how you carry yourself while you're waiting, because the truth is time alone doesn't heal anything. What you do with that time is what makes the difference. Life will test you with moments where everything feels uncertain, everything feels delayed, and in those moments it's easy to let emotions run your decisions. It's easy to let frustration become your guide and let disappointment turn into doubt. But the people who grow the most aren't the ones who escape the hard moments. They're the ones who learn how to stand steady inside them. Learning to be emotionally steady is one of the most powerful habits patience can create. When things go wrong, when plans fall apart, when people don't show up the way you hoped, it's your emotional control that keeps you from making things worse. You can't stop life from shaking, but you can stop yourself from breaking. Every time something unexpected happens, emotional discipline isn't about pretending to be fine when you're not. It's about acknowledging what you feel without letting that feeling define what you do. You'll face days when anger comes fast, when anxiety tightens your chest, when sadness tries to speak for you. But patience teaches you to pause, to let those feelings move through without letting them take over. You learn that just because you feel something doesn't mean it's true, and just because it's true doesn't mean it needs to control your next step. It takes strength to feel something deeply and still choose a calm response. It takes maturity to recognize that reacting out of emotion might bring short-term relief, but it often brings long-term regret. When you develop emotional patience, you become less reactive. You stop jumping into every conflict. You stop letting every delay become a crisis. You don't ignore what you feel, but you take the time to process it before you respond. And that small gap between feeling and reacting is where peace is built. That's where clarity lives, and that's where your power grows. The power to choose your response instead of being dragged around by every wave of emotion. Sometimes the people around you won't understand your silence. They'll mistake your calm for weakness. They'll think your patience means you don't care, but you'll know better. You'll know that silence is not the absence of strength. It's the proof of it. Staying calm in chaos doesn't mean you're not affected. It means you've learned how to lead yourself first, how to give yourself space to breathe and think before doing or saying something you can't take back. The world is noisy. It demands fast answers, quick reactions, instant decisions, but growth requires something slower. It asks you to sit in discomfort without letting it own you. It asks you to walk through stress without letting it shake your core. It asks you to feel without falling apart. And this kind of emotional resilience doesn't come from always being right. It comes from choosing patience again and again, even when it would feel easier to explode or shut down or give up. This is how patience changes everything. It doesn't remove the emotions. It teaches you how to carry them, how to listen without losing yourself, how to speak without hurting others, how to move forward. Even when your heart feels heavy, you become someone who can be trusted with hard things because you don't let pressure break your character. You don't let pain shape your personality. You learn to pause and protect your peace. And in doing that, you become stronger than what's trying to shake you. There's power in knowing you don't have to match every energy sent your way. You don't have to return anger with anger or pain with pain. You can choose stillness over chaos. You can choose patience over panic. You can choose control over impulse. And that choice not only protects your path, it builds a future you won't have to apologize for, because your peace became your habit, and that habit became your strength. And that strength became your story. Patience gives you space to evolve into who you're meant to become, because real change doesn't happen overnight. It's slow, it's messy. It's full of moments where nothing makes sense, yet somehow everything is working underneath the surface. You can't see it at first, but the way you carry yourself through delay, through hardship, through confusion, becomes the shaping force that molds your character. The longer you stay committed without rushing, the more time you give yourself to truly grow into your purpose. Instead of just chasing the next achievement, you learn to become the kind of person who can handle what they once only hoped for. When you rush everything, you skip your own development. You jump past the moments that were meant to teach you how to be strong, how to lead, how to endure, how to understand yourself on a deeper level. And without those lessons, even success won't feel fulfilling, because you won't have the foundation to hold it. But patience is what gives you that foundation. It slows you down just enough to make sure you're not building your life on noise, on pressure, on validation, but on truth, on effort, on clarity. The more patient you become, the more self-aware you become. You start to notice your patterns, your strengths, your blind spots, the things that trigger you, the things that inspire you. And that awareness gives you power, because now you're not just reacting to life. You're choosing how to live it. You're choosing how to respond. You're choosing how to move forward. And every time you choose growth over comfort, you evolve in ways no one can take from you. Growth isn't just about adding more. It's also about letting go of comparison, letting go of timelines, letting go of the pressure to prove something to people who don't even know your story. Patience teaches you to release the weight of what doesn't serve you and make room for what actually matters: your values, your peace, your authenticity. You stop rushing to become someone else and start honoring who you are and who you're becoming. This habit of evolving over time, instead of forcing yourself to arrive all at once, is where transformation really begins, because now you're not chasing a version of success that looks good. You're building a version of success that feels right. You stop needing everything to happen now, because you realize becoming is more valuable than arriving. You understand that it's not about having everything figured out. It's about showing up every day and trusting that each small step is shaping something powerful in you. There will be seasons where nothing makes sense, where you feel stuck in between who you were and who you're becoming, and it's tempting to panic, to force change, to create noise just to feel movement. But that's when you have to hold the line. That's when patience does its best work, not in the exciting moments, not in the victories, but in the stillness, where you learn how to sit with yourself and not run from the slow parts. You begin to respect the quiet seasons, because they're the seasons that build you the most. They stretch your faith. They sharpen your vision. They remind you that just because it's not loud doesn't mean it's not real. Some of your most important changes will happen when no one is watching, when there's no reward, no recognition, no visible proof. And that's when you learn to validate your own process, because now you're not doing it for the world. You're doing it for the future version of you who will thank you for not giving up. So don't rush the process. Don't fight the slow days. Don't doubt the quiet work. Becoming who you're meant to be takes time and pressure and patience. And every day you show up with intention, even when it's hard, even when it feels invisible. You're building something solid, something unshakable, something that will last longer than any shortcut ever could. Patience doesn't just change your pace, it changes your path. And more importantly, it changes the person walking it.